I'm absolutely delighted to have here today Marianna Karapetyan is the curator of the Armenian Pavilion at Biennale Venice, the 19th edition of our national and but is international event, curated by Carlo Ratti. The theme this edition was Team Intelligence Natural Artificial Collective. And the title of this groundbreaking project brought here in Italy by Armenian people and Armenian crew that we're gonna listen to is Microarchitecture Through AI, Making New Memories with Ancient Monuments. Thank you, Marianna Karapetyan, to
Thank you, Simona.
me. So I will leave you explaining us the genesis of this project, first of all.
Thank you, Simona, for this interview. It's my great pleasure, and I'm happy to talk about our pavilion. Okay, it was part of one of the projects which was conducted previously. It started at 2020 when there was a regional conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And there were certain territories which were under discussion, let's say under the conflict between two countries. And there was a moment at 2020 where Armenian inhabitants were obliged to give up some part of the land where they were previously living. And one of our partners in the Biennale project, the TUMO organization, they took their team, they went to these territories which were supposed to be left in 2 weeks, and they have done major work of scanning numbers of monuments, ancient Armenian monuments, which were in these lands, perfectly knowing that their fortune in the future might not be as optimistic as we could hope, seeing in the past that some of Armenian heritage, like Armenian monuments, were destructed and vanished. We knew that it might happen with those monuments as well. So the team went and they scanned and captured every monument that they could possibly do during 2 weeks that the lands were given up. And this led to the start of the TUMO Heritage Scanning Project, Armenian Heritage Scanning Project, where they have collected from this part and later in other parts of this conflict region and in Armenia itself, in the Republic of Armenia itself, in the territories where these monuments were or are endangered for different reasons. It could be conflict, it could be neglect, it could be environmental issues such as climate change, which is also affecting all these monuments. So they continued with this scanning process. And our idea for the pavilion was to gather all this information that was collected about Armenian heritage, these scans, teach an AI model with this information. So we have a trained AI model specifically learned what the essence of Armenian architecture is. And according and using this model, later we generated new information and new models learned from all this information about Armenian heritage. And then we carved them back into local Armenian stone. There were a number of issues and let's say ideas that developed this final image that we received in the end, but the main process was this: having scanned information, teaching and making the AI model to learn about what the Armenian architecture is, and then later carving back those new pieces into stone. So as a result, we had several pieces, like different typologies that we decided to use in order to start the discussion about Armenian architecture. There were capitals of columns, there were niches, windows, portals for the entrances, and this typical Armenian small architectural piece, which is called hajkar in Armenian. It means cross stone. When you have an image of a stone carved, an image of a cross carved into the stone. So we had 5 these pieces generated by AI. They were, in fact, very distorted and hallucinative and weird and not realistic. But from the first moment, you could realize that they are belonging to Armenian architecture because they had all these senses of emotions or details that you could recognize, especially being carved into this very, very specific Armenian stone. So we resulted with something which led us to talk about memory, which was one of the ideological and philosophical points of our pavilion.
So technically, you have to train your artificial intelligence, giving them these micro-architectural seeds in order to elaborate a new architecture to be inserted in the pieces that you were missed or you wanted to preserve, or they are mostly missed.
It's mainly not about missing something, it's a larger thing, it's more about preservation. Being in Venice, especially one of the most endangered architectural heritage sites in the world, which is facing now the climate change, it can be also very endangered in the near future. We were thinking, what are the tools that will help us to think about architectural preservation, just to start a discussion about this, something that we faced in Armenia and something that lots of nations are currently facing due to, again, conflicts and environmental issues and the climate change and everything. Are there any new tools that we can use in this process of preservation to think like if there are any new ways
and
that
when
we can
was that
give?
the date? Because for instance, here in Italy we had the artificial intelligence largely usable around 2-3 years ago, not before. I'm talking about ChatGPT rather than other AI. And so when were you able to work on this? Because I've read you have such an incredible partnership with Tumo Studios, Kalfa, Monument. You have such a powerful team of technological people behind this project. But
Indeed.
I wanna know when you could have this machine, and when you start this process of machine learning, giving them all these pieces was a long journey, I think.
Actually, we started training the specific AI model only for the Biennale project. So we started like about just a few months before the exhibition itself. But the team, as you mentioned, a really powerful and great team that was collected for this exhibition, they have done similar work for many, many years. Kalfa and Monument, these are two scientific companies which are dealing again with the preservation. Kalfa is dealing with preservation of manuscripts, and they are teaching AI models to recognize and identify manuscripts and the texts that are written in them. And Monument is a company that is again training AI models to identify and recognize pieces of Armenian architecture. So an AI model could see, let's say, an image of a monastery or another architectural piece, and it could instantly recognize that this is specific Armenian ornament, or this is specific Armenian way of doing the portals or windows or any other details that are really the essence of Armenian architecture. So all of the team together, we could take this information that has been done by Tumo, Kalfan Monument. They were teaching this new, absolutely new AI model, start learning from these pieces and generating new things. And my company, which is Electric Architects, we help to identify the elements and come up with the idea of the pavilion itself, and generally to collect all this information together. Also, we had Ari Melanciano, which was part of the team. She's an artist and philosopher, and her research is in the field of AI and the artistic and philosophical sides of the AI technologies, let's say. So she herself helped us to identify the main and general idea behind the project.
Yeah, it's fascinating because you mesh together humanistic disciplines, philosophy, with this incredible power of the AI. And I think you can think of a future based on new discoveries and new application for what's the goal of your presentation here in Biennale and why you thought it could be useful, it could be the proper thing to do to come here and to present your project. What is your main objective?
Mm-hmm. Well, there were few of them actually. The first and most important was that we really wanted to talk about these monuments that we're losing. Knowing, again, I'm repeating myself, but knowing the history and what has previously happened, that we have so many Armenian monuments were destroyed and completely, they were vanished, and the Armenian heritage was erased. And we being sure and seeing, having like correct evidence that this is still happening in these conflict regions, we wanted to make sure that our voice is heard. And it's important not only for Armenian culture itself, but generally speaking about architectural heritage around the world, like what is happening with architectural masterpieces or history of architecture in this turbulent period of
Yeah.
conflicts that we're all facing around the world. This was the first. Second was we wanted to talk about preservation again. What tools can we use? What does the new and contemporary modern technologies give us? What opportunities do we have to use this instrument in order to talk broader about preservation, not in terms of preserving these monuments only in the internet cloud in a way of 3D information, but probably giving them new life or making them as a testing ground for some new things to be emerging and generating and talking about them in different ways. And the third most important thing that we wanted, of course, to mention is what is AI for architecture? What is AI used for us artists, and how do we incorporate AI in our lives differently? And we thought that in this case, AI is acting as a memory. The way we remember things, the way that our memory is shaped and modified and distorted during the time that we keep this memory in our head, is actually very, very similar to what AI is doing. Like, if we have an image of a tree in our head, we imagine all the details of the tree. But if there was a device that could print out, 3D print our memory, the memory of a tree from our mind, from our brain directly, it would be something distorted. It would be something reminding us of different trees that we have seen around the world. And this is what happened with these pieces that we printed out. They were definitely, let's say, window elements. You could recognize them instantly. You could even see some kind of Armenian text carved. But when you were going closer, you would see that the image is totally distorted. It's unproportional. It doesn't have a symmetry. And the things that you thought were text, actually, it's just scribbled something on the stone itself. So this was very, very powerful, actually, emotion, because it played with your mind. And instantly you start thinking, okay, is AI a way of remembering things? Is AI presenting the way that our memory works? So this was another thing that emerged during the process and became the cornerstone of the exhibition itself.
This for sure is one of the innovations point of view of your project, but I also find something that is really interesting, that you try to push and to have public engagement in your pavilion, and so you advise and you promote the touchability. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you can say, and so to touch and to physically uh, have the
Experience, yes.
sensation, yeah, to be in contact with this stuff, tuff, the stone. You have
Mm-hmm.
a typical stone, and because from time to time we have a few issues with the people touching too much monuments, making making around, we know here in Italy, taking pieces, and I was thinking, oh my
Same
God.
here.
And so tell me about this physical also, not only, don't talk, we should talk about AE, but also I think this is a very strong concept, to be physically attached and bonded to these monuments and to these uh, yeah, incredible heritage, cultural and historical heritage.
This was one of the emotional things that we wanted to address in the pavilion, because for us, and I imagine for many, many people in the world, which are emotionally attached to their heritage, to their monuments, it's absolutely devastating loss knowing that places that you used to visit
No,
and
it's
feel.
I think I mean I'm speaking like an Italian. If we could have a see Colosseum or one of
Mhm.
our monuments disappear for us,
Exactly,
it's a
exactly.
nightmare. Yeah, there is a
These were
strong
sacred,
identification among I mean us with our,
of
yeah.
course. And for us being a nation which was constantly in the war, constantly invaded, and so many parts of our memory and history was erased and invaded, and we lost most of the Armenia during that last 100 years, let's say, a bit more than that. Um, it's very, very emotional, and we get very much attached to our monuments, because these are standing pieces, like proof that our civilization and our history existed, that it had a powerful culture and it's going on. And in 21st century, facing loss of these monuments, knowing that they will be destroyed or they are destroyed, and having this fresh memory of, let's say, being there 5 years before, having, all these smells and tactility, all the stones and the light and everything, and people in monasteries praying and chanting and being there with your loved ones, and knowing that you can never visit these places anymore, or these places can be destroyed.
So that
This was one of.
you also recreated an ambient and a particular layout with for Armenia, because as far as I could see from the pictures and the video, by the way, the video that now is in the cover of my YouTube channel is really it's like a dream. It's really it make you feel a little bit, oh my God, how the history could become something uh, near to sci-fi and then get back to real days. And also the layout of the pavilion is absolutely, the concept of this pavilion is unique.
Thank you, Simona. Kind
Yeah.
words. Well, it has two main parts. The first part is, we call it laboratory. It's the part where we show all the scientific process behind the exhibition, all the scanning process, the history, information about the monuments that were scanned and which scanned information was used, and then how the AI model was trained. All this information is in the first part, which is a laboratory. And the second part, we call it a gallery of microarchitecture, where we displayed all these pieces that we carved from the stone and transported to Venice. And the light there is very ambient and very dark, and only these two pieces are accented with direct light. And we had also another participant, Lara Sarkisian, which wrote the music for the pavilion. Is also very emotional because the samples that she created this music from were also collected from these spaces that were lost from these monuments. She had recordings from monasteries, from the nature, from people talking, chanting, and all these things. And then she collected and recreated this music, which was used in this second part of the pavilion to create the ambience that you mentioned. Thank you for noticing that.
It's my job. I mean, I try always to evaluate the project, trying to understand how they develop the different phases and the different areas of this kind of events or presentation. And another question is the the yeah, the environmental impact of the of these immense, because I imagine how many monuments you have to possibly to resuscitate, and so how can you imagine the changement on the landscape, trying to make this work possible? I mean, you have to work a lot on the land in Armenia to try to resuscitate and to restore, or you are gonna your vision is to be that it could be possible to realize this project on a vast scale in Armenia, or this is a project in by which you say we are able to do this, and we'll see.
We didn't have this kind of major plan of restoring all the monuments, and we don't see it very fair to them, because it's much more important to talk about the real things that are happening. I mean, if we are facing this kind of thing is 21st century, let's be realistic and say that these kind of things are happening. What can we do
Uh-huh.
for the future to fight this? Shall we talk about this? Like, shall we think about monuments right now being destroyed in Ukraine, in Syria, in all these regions that are under the war constantly? And this is equally important for the environmental issues, for the climate change. I mean, the sea levels are rising, the humidity is rising, and we might be losing things that were standing there for millennia, for hundreds of years. It will it will be needed an enormous amount of means to preserve all these monuments. So we have to face the fact that we are going to lose many, many monuments around the world. And the only thing that we're actually left is the technology. And we're not saying let's just preserve them in the 3D scanned images, but we're rather saying let's make it a point of discussion. Let's start a discourse with that. Let's see what we can do with that. Can we come up with something new? So
Okay.
instead of rebuilding things which are lost, we are thinking, can we have a tool now which can be developed in many, many directions, and we see what this tool can lead to. And we're not giving an exact formula of what has to be done, but rather saying that this is something that it's interesting to talk about.
Definitely. I'm impressed. Really, you did such a great job. And I invite all the people, the audience that are watching us until the end of November, the 26th of November. You can have this exclusive experience in visiting Armenian Pavilion that is in Tese, in Tese Arsenale. Am I right? Okay. What else? You have any particular? You have to thanks also the committee, and that is the you want to say the person and the committee board of this work and the Armenian government
Of
and
course. We had a lot of support. This was a huge, huge, huge support from Armenian community around the world, actually. Of course, the project was initiated by government, by Ministry of Culture, and we had support from them, both financially and with procedures to pass forward with the process. And also we have an amazing community which believed in the project and supported the project when that we could realize it on the site, which was quite hard because the space was large and we had to transport all these huge stones and carve them and do the
I
process. There are
imagine.
so many
I'm
things.
sorry, but I have to shorten the interview. We have just, this is
Of course.
digital, so we have just a few seconds left. As I said, I'm impressed, and you did.
Thank you, Simona, very much for
It's
this
a
interview. It's
pleasure
my
to interview
pleasure.
people like you that want to improve our future and memories and to preserve the history and arts is the same ideals that I have. You do the architect, I do the journalist.
We share that, of course.
Thank you very much to
Thank you, Simona. Such a
Marianna
pleasure.
Karapetyan, the CEO of Electric Architect for Armenian Pavilion.
Thank you again.
Thank you.